Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. My name is Nikki and today I have to do part 4 of a junk journal swap. It's all part of a group that I'm in and we are making a very different journal this time round. This will actually end up being 2 pages with holes and then held together via rings. Now, of course, if you just like the idea of the pockets and deco that I do with this, make them for any normal journal page. You don't have to worry about this base page, but if you just are learning how to junk journal, you want to experiment, pardon me, this could be a great way to do it. You don't have to worry about binding in books and signatures and all that sort of thing. But I have a playlist called Creative Collab Journaling, and it has hundreds of ideas that you can use if you're stuck and you want to make something for a journal and you have no idea what. Just have a scroll through all the options. There's 2.5 years of creating in that playlist. So just in case you need some inspiration, that's where to start. Now, for this sheet here, this is 8 inches by 7.5. And yes, I'm working in inches, not centimetres, because with some of these measurements, they're so definite, mucking around with, 16.66 centimetres is all too hard. So that is my base page. I have already prepped all the pieces for this in that I've cut them to size and I have inked all the edges. I've just used my Distress Oxide with a little dauber, and it just saves you having to watch me do 20 zillion pieces. It's very boring. So we're going to start. So this, as I mentioned, is going to be 2 pages. So I'm going to work on this side first. And if you wonder why I shove everything towards the center, it's because I have to leave space down the side for where the holes are going to be punched. So on a normal journal page, I might be more inclined to center things, but it doesn't matter. You can use this however you see fit. So the very first thing we want for this page is this flap. So this is 3.5 inches by 6.5 inches. And I have scored this and folded it over so that we can create a flap, and I just trimmed off those little bits there because it just makes for a neater close. And all we're going to do is glue this down, and that is step 1. So I always use Helmer's Tiger Grip. It is my favourite glue and it does a superb job making everything nice and strong. So what we're going to do, just so I can see a little bit more clearly, I'm going to flip this around this way. And as I said, I'm going to work over almost to the edge, just the tiniest little bit in, and trying to keep it pretty central without measuring it, because that's what you should do with junk journaling. Everything doesn't have to be precisely perfect. And that's what makes this fun. So if measuring's not your jam, junk journaling is for you. So now we have a flap. And on the inside of the flap, we have a very simple belly band. So I have cut this 1 inch across, and of course it's 6.5 inches long. And all I'm going to do with this is put a little bit of glue at the top and the bottom, and I'm going to stick this down again relatively central. Actually no, I might go a little bit to the left just because this is the outer edge, so just a little bit to the left maybe. There we go. Then the next thing we have is some pockets which are going in down here, and they are technically supposed to be 2.25 inch, no, 2.5 by 2. Hang on, just in case you love measurements. These are 2.25 by 2. But I decided to do something different, and I've made all 3 of them different sizes. And I've also, you'll see I've put this little half circle in a different spot on each one just to be different. I also had one of these, I only had this tiny scrap, so I went, well, hang on a minute, why do they all have to be exactly the same size? They do not. So we're just going to glue these down. So just a little bit of glue. And then what I'm going to try and do, I'm not going to measure, but what I want, I'm going to put them right over to the edge. Now, hang on, is that going to work? Yes, that, because what you want is you want them to look hidden. You don't want to see the pockets when you first look at this page. So we're just going to, I have got this slightly crooked, but you know what? It's okay. It's just me. I do try keep things straight. So there's one. And what I did here, I sort of went florally leafy, and this one being a bit different, I've decided to put it in the center. And when you have little mini pockets like this, if you do cut out your little semicircle, at least then you know where to apply glue. But none of these have really a directional pattern, so it wouldn't matter if I did it the wrong way round. Then I'm just going to nudge that one in there. And I'm sort of keeping them a bit lower also so that the little bits of ephemera that I'm going to put in it, I don't want them sticking out the top. I want it to be like true hidden pockets. Okay. And then in we go. I'm going to try and keep them relatively even, but again, we're not measuring, we're just popping them down. So we have done that. Now, I have another pocket which I made to put on the front. And just for something different, I've just cut it on an angle. I do like variety. Don't like everything looking exactly the same. We're just going to place that down the bottom there. And then we'll do decorating in a minute. For the moment, we are going to flip over to this side. Now, this piece here is meant to be the full length. Like, it's meant to cover the whole page, with this exception, of course. But I actually had... The lady that I'm creating for this time round, she just said anything blue. So it can be floral, it can be ocean, it can be anything, but she wanted all of her pages blue. I cannot tell you how little blue I had in my stash, but I did have this, and I loved this paper, and this is where I started with this, and then I built around it. So all of this came from a freebie that I got from Ink and Page quite a while ago. I subscribe to her newsletter, and I strongly suggest you do the same. And her YouTube channel, she does the most fantastic kits. When you sign up, you get notified every time she releases a new kit, and you get a very hefty discount. Plus, she often sends freebies, and she had this beautiful blue kit, which absolutely saved my bacon. Now, for the next pages I'm doing for this same lady, I'm going to do like a vintage nautical one, because I have so much blue, but it's all nautical, and I didn't want to do two of the same sort of pages. So that's how all this started. Sorry for the rambling, but that is why my pocket is going to be smaller than the full page. Sorry, yes, we got off on a bit of a tangent there. But sometimes I just like to explain my thought behind things. And the reason also is that you don't have to get hung up on doing something exactly the same as someone else. There's no law that says you have to. You have open license. And if you really want to use a piece of paper in your stash, but it doesn't quite fit how it's meant to be, guess what? Who cares? Just do it. Like I had to use this lovely blue paper, which was very thin paper. So I did glue it down onto the back of a shopping bag because as a pocket, I was worried it was going to be too flimsy. And we're going to, I also cut this the tiniest bit shorter than the exact amount in case I'd got this measurement slightly wrong, but I don't mind that little nice frame around there. That all looks good to me. Now we have a lovely giant pocket there. So now we have a few little decorating bits to do before we fill the pocket. Why don't we flip over and we're going to start here. Now, let's see what I had all this all sorted. I've cut and grabbed all these little bits of ephemera, which we are going to use for a bit of decoration here. So I'm going to start with this piece, which I'm going to glue on down here. So I'm only going to put some glue sort of in the middle because I don't want, obviously, to glue it down and then we can't use the belly band in full. So just a little bit of glue there. And then I've got a couple of other tiny little pieces to add as a bit of decoration. So I've got some leaves here. I tell you what, going through my stash, I realised how little I had that truly matched blue. But we're going to use what we've got. And I thought a little pop of pink would not go astray. And I like how you can see some of the little label in behind. I'm not trying to cover it up completely. And because this was stamped in blue, I bought a pack a little while ago off a lady in a craft group, and she used all sorts of different coloured inks, and luckily there was blue. So that's a little bit of deco there. Then I'm going to use this. I had this blue ticket, but I don't like the star. And I'm going to put this here sideways just for fun anyway. And then we're going to add this little bit of deco to hide that star because I just don't think it goes with the vibe in any shape or form. So if we put that down there. And then I've got this, actually had one blue flower, yahoo. Couldn't believe it. Severe lack of bloom. But I tell you what, haven't I got tons of pink stuff? And you don't realise until you have to hunt for a particular colour. And then I just have a little bit of green leaf here just to sort of match up with this. And I probably should have put this down beforehand, but if we just nestle it in there, that will be fine. This piece is not for just yet. I'm going to leave those two the way they are. I just wanted a little bit of something there. And then let's have a look. Where's the next bit? So I have this fabulous butterfly for this pocket here, and I'm only going to glue it down the middle here so that it can flippy flappy a little bit if it feels like it. And then just underneath, we're going to pop in this label, and that can just go, oops, right to the edge there, and one little flower. Okay, now also a little bit of deco for over on this side. I've cut another pocket. This is from a scrap, and I found this in my stash, and they don't actually belong together, but to me, they're a perfect match. So what I did, I cut this on the same angle as this here, so it should look quite symmetrical. Actually, I might make it more of a tuck spot so this will fit. We're just going to pop that sort of about there. And I thought I quite liked that look. Okay, so now we need to fill some pockets. So why don't we start here? Again, had to do some interesting stash raiding. I found this journal card. This is the only one that actually sort of had blue on it. But what I didn't like, it had in metallic gold the word smile. And I went, hang on, this just doesn't match this vibe at all. So I just grabbed some little scraps and I have covered up that word, but at least we have a blue journaling card. So we'll pop that in. Then I found this printable, which I had in my stash. It was just on normal copy paper. So again, I've put it onto some back of a shopping bag so that it has some stability. I found this little piece. It had the word hello. It looked very modern, so I didn't like that. So I've cut a little whale tail in half, glued it onto both sides, and we're going to pop that in there, but at least it's blue. And this was a tiny little scrap. I have no idea where it came from. Again, it was just on thin paper, so shopping bag to the rescue to turn it into something a little bit more substantial. And we'll pop those in there. So that's some nice little blue bits for the big pocket. Then, of course, this has to go in there just like that, because this is a match made in heaven that wasn't even meant to be a match. Then for our pocket here, I found this blue floral sort of ticket looking thing. I went, oh, look, you're blue, you're coming to play. And a little, I had a whole sheet, a scrapbooking sheet of these cards. And I bought it one day at a clearance sale, and I thought, oh, look, I don't know if I'm ever going to use them. I'm amazed how many times these little cards have just come in so handy for filling pretty pockets. So, love the look of that. You get your little hint of blue there. That works really well. Then, for our belly band, I found this on a, you know, one of those scrapbooking sheets that's made up of all sorts of bits and pieces you can fussy cut out. So I went, you're coming in here too. And I got given this in from a friend of mine. She sent me this giant thing of Happy Mail. Oh my gosh. And this playing card was in there. So that's going in there. So now we've got all wonderful different shades of blue happening. I'm grateful for that. And then finally, I've got all sorts of little, I had to go hunting for little cute things because these pockets are so tiny. So up the top here, I've got, that's a stamp sticker, but I liked that little bit of, you know, the neutrally brown just to tone down and match in. I found this cute little piece of ephemera. I don't know where that came from, but that's now becoming a mini tag. And of course, can I get my, there we go, get that underneath there. Oh, I must need a tiny bit more glue on that edge. We'll pop that in there. And then I had this little scrap left over from this, and I've just turned this into a tiny tag together with another little piece of scrap. And then I thought, I had this cute little leaf die cut, and I thought this could just go in under here as a little bit of extra something. And again, I sort of like those neutral tones. And with this flower, I thought he can go in the back there into this pocket. No, that's right. I wanted to try and keep these hidden, didn't I? So hang on. Let's put this other tiny little card in here. So I'll show you in a minute what I'm trying to do here. We might just put this flower in down here. Perfect. So when we, see? So when this is flipped over, there's no evidence of these cute little pockets that are hidden in behind. That was how I wanted it to be. I'm sure it doesn't have to be that way, but I'm usually I love having things sticking out all over the place, but I went, no, this one, I want them all hidden. So then we've got these cute little pockets. We've got ourselves a belly band and some more pockets. And you know what? I'm just going to put this piece in here too. Why not? It's sort of got a little bit of bluey grey in it. So why don't I shove that in there as an extra little bit? And we're done. Now, what happens with this is I now flip this over and I will glue these two sides together. So officially we've made 2 more pages in this for this journal, and the holes will go in there and the big rings to hold it all together. But I will glue it down after I've taken a picture for my thumbnail for the video. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments box below. I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. This is a simple project that looks difficult and has a really great finished feel, but all the pieces were actually very, very simple. So certainly a great one to try if you're a little bit unsure, haven't really done too much journaling, or of course, if you are an expert, then you'll do this one with ease. So thank you so much for watching. Very grateful that you have. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. Bye for now.